free agent wideouts. Let's do it.
Yes, sir. We're back with the live round, and like we've been doing the past few weeks, the early free agency predictions for the quarterbacks, the running backs. Now this week, we're going to get into the wide receivers.
I like it.
And Frankie, we're going to start with number 1, Stephon Diggs. And where do you think he's going?
I mean, there's some talk about him going to the Cowboys. I mean, I like the Cowboys. I like him re-signing with the Texans too, but Steelers, Chiefs possibly. I mean, there's a lot of, even us. I mean, we need a wide receiver, but 31 years old, coming off a bad knee injury.
Yep.
It's like if you have that 1 year sweetheart deal, like prove it deal, maybe you get him cheap. So I mean, Cowboys don't have a lot of cap space at all.
Absolutely.
I mean, that would be a landing spot. And again, Jerry Jones likes some of the big names and some of the big personalities. Diggs got both of those. He's a big name and he's a big personality. Bro. So why not?
So I'm going to agree with you there, Frankie, and I'm going to say the Cowboys as well. So Dallas, like you were talking about in the finances, bro, the 25th in the terms of the cap, and he's coming off of that injury, and especially at his age, like you said, maybe you get that 1 year discount deal. And mind you, like you talked about, Jerry Jones always wanted to bring in those big talents and everything. Not only that, he's familiar with somebody on that team, and his brother, Trevin Diggs, is on the team as well.
I mean, that would be a perfect fit for him. I mean, CeeDee Lamb gets a little bit of coverage off him.
That's what I'm saying.
Diggs was having a great season until he got hurt.
That's what
I mean.
He was starting out the first game with the Texans, 2 touchdowns in his first game.
Texans look good. I mean, he looked good on the Texans. It relieved Nico of some coverage. It was like, he fits in great. And again, he's going to be cheaper being 31 and coming off a bad injury.
And like you said, you need that number 2 next to CeeDee Lamb. But
CeeDee Lamb,
Trevin Diggs isn't the only guy he'll be familiar with on the team. Actually, his OC from the Bills, Ken Dorsey, is now on the Cowboys as well.
I mean, it's a good fit, honestly.
That's what I'm saying. So I could see that, Frankie. Number 2, we got Chris Godwin, Frankie. Where could you see him going?
I love Chris Godwin. I mean, he's coming off a dislocated ankle. He's 29 years old. Texans, Raiders. I could see him on the Bills. I mean, Amari Cooper's didn't do much. He's going to be a free agent. So the Bills have Shakir in the slot, but I feel like having another slot guy like Chris Godwin can't hurt. So, I mean, I know they're going to be looking for somebody this season. I mean, Chris Godwin, great control, ball control guy, great slot receiver. I would love to see him on the Pats, but he could very well end up back with the Bucs too,
So I'm actually going to say the Bucs, Frankie. So Bucs are lower in the league in terms of the cap. They don't got much either like the Cowboys, so not a lot of spending room there. Considering he suffered a bad ankle injury back in Week 7 of the NFL season, that forced him to miss the rest of the year, obviously. He was killing it, bro. You had him on your fantasy team,
He's the only guy drafted in all 3 of my leagues. He was the only one.
So they could seemingly get him back on a 1 year team-friendly deal to come back. You just got banged up. Let's see how you're doing and everything before they start paying you the bag and going crazy. Obviously, that's an ankle injury for a wide receiver.
He's 29 years old, too, so it's not like he's young.
But that's an ankle injury for a wide receiver. Not saying he's done, but we've seen that slow down a lot of guys' careers, obviously. Right before he got hurt, Frankie, he had 50 receptions for 576 receiving yards in 5 touchdowns, bro.
Crazy.
He got hurt in Week 7.
Their coordinator loves to use the slot guy. They said it before the season. That's why I drafted him. I don't know what he's going to come back at. I mean, that ankle, obviously, that's how you make your turns, you make your cuts, slant routes, blah, blah, blah. And it could very well affect his career. But
the dude had 6 or more catches, 6 of the 7 games he played. So I'm going to tell you, I think you bring back Godwin. And mind you, too, you pair him up with Evans, who you re-signed last offseason, and then booming rookie from last year, Jalen McMillan, who had like 7 touchdowns in the last 5 games.
And they got rookie this past year, Bucky Irvin. I mean, their offense looked great. They just got to work on the defense. I'd bring him back.
Baker Mayfield was the number 2 fantasy player for like half the season.
I'm saying Baker looked great.
That's what I'm saying.
Their offense looked great. I mean, K. Daughton's not a bad tight end. If you bring him back, your offense is pretty much set.
Pretty much formed.
You just got to work on defense in the draft. That's all you got to do.
That's all you got to do. I like it, Frankie. So I could see him going back to the Bucs. Number 3, we got Amari Cooper, Frankie. Where could you see him going?
I'm hearing different things on this one, but the Bears. I keep seeing stuff about the Bears.
I could see that, actually.
And Keenan Allen's a free agent for the Bears, who we're going to talk about next. But, I mean, he would fit in well, again, with you pairing him up with a Dunze and DJ Moore and a young quarterback. I mean, this kid, he didn't do much, again, with the Bills, but he's a guy, he's a locker room guy, good player, veteran player.
Absolutely.
To give you a third receiver like that's a good fit.
That's a good potential fit for him. I like that, actually.
Yeah, I think is probably the number 1 spot. Again, he only had 547 yards last year and 4 touchdowns between the Browns and the Bills.
Right.
So the Bills could bring him back too, but I think the Bills are going to go elsewhere. But yeah, I think the Bears is a good spot.
But my guy's only 1 year removed from a 77 reception, 1,250 250-yard, 5-touchdown season. But Frankie, you know where I could see him going? I could see him going to the Patriots.
I would love it, yeah.
So the Patriots, we've talked about it every episode so far with this free agency. They got the most cap space in the NFL at nearly $128 million. And at almost 31 years old, he's not the same receiver he once was. But the Patriots were dead last in passing offense last year. Yep. So I'm going to tell you, regardless of what his stats were last year, he's going to be an immediate boost for our wide receiver room if we were to sign him. Mind you, like you said, some veteran leadership. He's a locker room guy, which we need in there.
Yeah.
And we need receivers. He's a veteran, too. And he could provide for any wide receiver needed team, in my opinion.
It. I mean, he very well could end up with the Pats. I hope the Pats sign a couple of these guys, honestly.
Well, especially if the Patriots trade for Cooper Kupp, too, man. You'd have Amari Cooper Kupp. That'd be a cool name right there. You know what I mean? Amari Cooper Kupp, man.
I think it's great.
So I like him in New England. Number 4, and like you just said, Frankie, Keenan Allen, and where could you see him going?
Well, this is kind of an easy one. He's come out multiple times and said he only wants to play for 2 teams. The team he was just on, the Bears, and his old team, the Chargers. He even posted a bunch of plays, him running routes with the Chargers jersey on, and he tagged Justin Herbert in one of them. So it's like, I mean, he wants to go back to the Chargers. It sounds like the fans want him back. He was nasty on the Chargers. He was good on the Bears. He wasn't as good as he was on the Chargers.
He was a fan favorite.
I mean, to have him and Ladd McConkey, I think that would be a no-brainer. Josh Palmer's a free agent too, mind you, for the Chargers. So it's like, and he's not even anywhere near on the level of Allen, in my opinion. Bringing Keenan Allen back, again, team-friendly deal. If you know the guy only wants to play for you and the Bears, guess what? All those other 30 teams aren't, the market's a lot less when you come out and say that.
So I'm going to actually say the other team you just mentioned and the Bears, and especially with the Bears coaching overhaul, Ben Johnson, Antoine Randall, obviously last year with the Eberfluses of the world and everything, garbage play calling. But I could see him going back there, especially with the talented offense they already have in DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Caleb Williams. He's going to be a good quarterback next year, I think, especially with the running back situation. DeAndre Swift, and like I said last week, especially if they get Nick Chubb. But the Bears have the 3rd most cap space in the NFL, and obviously under new head coach, offensive guru Ben Johnson, they want to improve that 31st ranked pass offense, and he had 70 catches for them last year for 744 yards and 7 touchdowns. So honestly, I just see him going back to the Bears, try to see what else they can do. And mind you, it's a whole new coaching staff.
If he likes the coaching staff, if he likes what they're about, I mean, if they think they can make the playoffs, I mean, the Chargers made the playoffs. Nobody even thought the Chargers would be that good, and he likes what Jim Harbaugh's doing. And I feel like, he's been injured a few times. He's got a lot of reps over the years. I mean, he's not like young, but he's not super old. But at the same time, it's like, the Chargers are going to be running the ball. You're not going to have to be out there as much on a team that's like pass heavy. Right. So I mean, that could be. It's one of those 2 teams. They both make great sense for him.
Absolutely, Frankie. So number 5, we got a 2-for-1, and we got 2 Chiefs free agent receivers, and we got DeAndre Hopkins and Marquise Brown. And we're going to start here with DeAndre Hopkins, Frankie. Where could you see him going?
I mean, he's 32. He didn't have a great season by any means. I mean, there was talk about him going to the Chargers too. He could stay in KC. I mean, he's a veteran guy. He could end up on Buffalo. To me, I think getting him cheap on the Chargers, Keenan Allen back, Ladd McConkey, I'm going Chargers on him, too.
Right. Frankie, I'm actually going to say this, man, where he once played. I think he could go back to the Texans.
He could, yeah. That's a good spot for him, too.
So the Texans had a dip in pass numbers from C.J. Stroud's rookie year where they were 7th ranked. They were 22nd ranked in total offense last year and 21st ranked in pass offense, so they needed the help. Mind you, Stephon Diggs got hurt. He's a free agent. You still got Nico Collins there. Yeah. I say you bring back D-Hop where he is a fan favorite, obviously.
Steph Diggs is a free agent, too.
And Tank Dell's hurt, so obviously they need the help at the receiver end. You bring him in, you pair him up with C.J. Stroud, see what he can do. Obviously, he had Pat Mahomes last year, and, his numbers weren't the greatest.
I know, but again, think they would have been better with all
that's what I'm saying, bro. But again, I could see him going back to the Texans. Obviously, where the money, they don't want to spend too much money, and it would be a good reunion, too, to have him back there, in my opinion.
That would be a cool spot for him to land. I mean, again, 32, he's not going to be a number 1 anymore, in my opinion, but he still can be that outside guy and open up the middle of the field for people. I mean, if he's smart, you try to find a team that you're not going to be the number 1 on, a 2 or a 3 guy.
Right.
Like again, the Chargers make a lot of sense. You put them on the outside, you open up more of the middle for Ladd McConkey, and you still have, Quentin Johnson and D-Hop. Well, I think that makes sense. And I think same thing you're saying, exact same thing. When Nico gets open, he's more of a barn burner, but you have the middle of the field open as well.
Well, he played in 16 games last season, especially at his age at 32. That's good.
He's not going to get injured there.
And the year before with the Titans, he had over 1,000 yards, so he can still do things,
He's nasty.
And then we got Marquise Brown, Frankie. And where could you see Marquise Brown going?
This guy, to me, is the most compelling one. He is a speed demon. This kid.
Is a speed demon.
So there's a lot of teams that need a guy on the outside that can, again, open up the middle of the field. So you got to respect his speed. If he comes back healthy, again, you might get him on a cheap deal. He only had like a $7 million contract last year. The Bills need a guy like that will really help Shakira, really help Josh Allen. To me, that's something I think the Bills really should look into getting somebody like him.
So I could see Marquise Brown going back to the Chiefs. I'm going to explain why. So after signing a one-year deal with the Chiefs last offseason, he suffered a sternoclavicular injury. And for those that don't know what that is, like myself, it's a collarbone injury that landed him on IR. He didn't look like he was going to play at all in the season. And he actually played in 2 regular season games, did nothing. He played, had 9 catches, 91 yards, 0 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Only 5 catches in all the playoffs. So he did nothing. But the Chiefs, they got nothing in cap space. So I say they go out, they bring him back on a friendly one-year deal, see what he can do actually playing in a full season, hopefully staying healthy. I just think that's the only option for the Chiefs right now, to be honest with you.
The Chiefs could do that. I mean, when Rashee Rice comes back for the Chiefs, he's still on his rookie deal.
Potential suspension, too, with him, man.
Yeah, again, I don't think it's going to be more than 4 games, maybe 6.
Still, though, I mean, if you don't got D-Hop, and
right.
you got
Worthy.
Worthy's still there, too.
Kelsey's back. So, I mean, you definitely need one more guy. So, whether it's D-Hop or Hollywood Brown or Marquez Valdez-Scantling, bring him back. He's out there, too. He's another barn burner.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I think they do need one other guy. I think we talked about that a little bit last week, too. So
yeah, and he fits the scheme in Kansas City, too, man. Like you said, speed demon.
Yeah, I think that exactly.
So, especially if Rashee Rice is suspended, you got Worthy and you got Brown, man, as the 2 options, and you got Kelsey back,
and then when
too.
Rice comes back, you got 3 nasty receivers.
One of them,
I would go after Brown more than D-Hop for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
In my opinion.
I agree, Frankie.